What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, man, and we're gonna talk about the major figures versus state property beef, because people been begging for it now. I guess since Skino been running his snitch mouth. You know, here's a guy that beat a body without going to trial. How that happen? That's neither here nor there. That's none of my business. Let's get into it, man. Let's Philly in general, man. I gotta say this, and I ain't gonna make this long. I'm just saying that every time Philly destroys itself, every time somebody's on top in Philly, somebody from Philly pulls him to the ground. They are their own worst enemy. It never fails. Every time somebody from Philly is on top, another person from Philly pulls him to the bottom. It's always happened that way. You go back and think what happened with Cassidy, what happened with Beans, what happened to Gilly. Anybody who tried to stand up and represent Philly and be that guy, Philly pulls him back down into the pack. Ain't gonna be no one guy over anybody in Philly. Or help lead the pack. When the other guy, Nikki's boyfriend, once he became the it guy, what happened? Destroyed from within, right? He's getting pulled down, but he kind of done that to himself. Because nobody was really even studying him. He brought all the drama and wave down on himself. He dug the hole, put himself in there, and pulled the dirt over his body. All by himself. Now let's get into this. Before there was a state property, these was just a bunch of broke dudes in the hood with talent. Massive talent. Jay-Z used to come over there all the time because he used to hang out with Cosmic Kev had ties with him, and they used to always be over there looking for, you know, the next best thing. Who's gonna be the next big artist, what have you, in that situation. Now, Jay-Z knew he knew a lot of Philly rappers back in the day, and they used to like have people hang out with him. Like mostly the person that they knew most of was oh god, he was delusional a little bit. He kind of thought like it's me, and that was Dutch. So when Dutchy was hanging out with Jay and all them, Dutchy was the live one. He used to play Madden over there and chill with him, smoke. They were all cool. You know, there was no problems with Jay and had a good rapport with them. Then he got the major figures they signed with you know, they knew Cam and everybody else, so through Dame Dash they met Jay, and everybody was all love. It was all one big family. Now, Skino and all those dudes, they had this group called ICH, you know, back in the days, and, you know, Skino was known basically as a hater. You know, and he had beef with some other dudes based on some stuff he did back in ICH, where it ended up to a point where he was shot a couple of times. Or a few settings, you know, like, we won't get into that situation, but he was shot. So they were known to be like haters. When his raps come out, he always act as if he's the one being hated, but he's the one hating on somebody else. And that's the way he got off on his rapping style. You know, he loved to be aggressively attacking somebody, so he gonna create the beef and kick it off so he can have some rhymes to go at him. And that was his style. You know, he was aggressive, spilling. You know, his flow pattern was sick. And Spado was more the like he rapped more like Corrupt did. He was like the Corrupt of the clique. He wasn't as lyrical as Corrupt, but he was decent. And he was more the I'm sharp, on point, you know, and all that stuff. And Spado knew Lil Chris from the Young Gunners. And I mean, like, them two, like, they on the same block almost. Like, they down the street from each other. So Beanie, I mean, all these dudes, they knew each other. You know what I'm saying? And some was just in the streets, period. Now, a problem happened between and Jay-Z over this Blue Cottrell situation with Charlie Baltimore, where there was a stabbing and got stabbed, and at this time Major Figgas was signed to Entertainment, and had a $60 million record deal from Sony, and he screwed that up royally because his album sales didn't reach a certain quota, so he had to pay the majority of the money back, and the company ended up folding. But before that, they had a song on there like Where I'm From. Dutch is on that, on Cameron Sex, Drugs, and Entertainment album. Jay-Z see this as basically a declaration of war, because he doesn't want any connection to at this time, or anybody who's connected to him. So the Major Figures is basically, you know, Jay just protected himself. He don't know if they're going to retaliate or how they going to move, so he can't have none of those dudes really around him at the time. So the guy he got is Beans right now. Then Beans brought Freeway in. And then from Freeway coming in, and he heard Jay liked Freeway voice, the way he rapped. Please don't open the door. You know, all that whining stuff. So he was like, man, yeah, he's got a voice. So Jay was like, yeah, I like that. And the way he was spilling. So Beans brought Freeway in. Jay already had Oskino came in and signed. And he signed him up, just a dude in the lobby. And he's from Philly. Now they got all the pieces, they putting it together because they getting ready to come out with something special. But before then, they was doing Volume 3 and all this stuff. The Major Figures was being blocked from coming out. But they thought it was mostly Jay-Z, which kind of it was, because Jay wouldn't perform. Anybody who was getting them shows or doing this and that, Jay was like, no. But it was mostly business practices. Wasn't a great manager, meaning that he didn't have enough connections and he didn't want to delegate any power to anybody. To say like, okay, we're going to partner up on this. He was like, nah, I'm going to keep my bread, but I need you to help me. It's like, what? He was in it just flying blind because Undiaz took off. So he shut Undiaz out to open up Entertainment. And Undiaz is what Junior Mafia album was on. Lil Kim album was on Undiaz. So Undiaz folded up and got transitioned into Entertainment. And with this new deal, you know, he was able to go ahead and, you know, further the career. But before Big died, he sold Lil Kim and Junior Mafia to Puffy for like $1 million. It was something like $1 million and some odd dollars. He sold them over to Puffy to manage. So now Puffy is managing them. So Big sold his shares off of Entertainment, Undiaz, because, you know, the label was finna go into another direction, and Big had some other ideas, and he probably was gonna cut out the picture and start his own thing, because he didn't want to keep all them dudes that was in the group. But anyway, back on subject, you know, Figgas is still doing a tape and everything, and at this point, young Chris get recruited. It's like they recruited everybody who wasn't in Gilly's group, the Major Figgas. When they was making this super group, they took Oskino, Petey Crack, who knew both of them. Petey wasn't even down yet with him. They took everybody that was around there. They took Neef, Buck, who the Emilio. They took all these guys and made this group. And it was cool. Okay, they was doing their little thing. They wasn't even state property yet. They was just there. And Chris and Neef, they were the young gunners, and they made their own album. So it was really no state property yet. And when they formed state property, they started getting arrogant because they was in a position to do something. And they was just making little tapes in the hood, the Major Figgas. And they was like, Dutch has a big mouth. Well, back then he did. I don't know about now, but Dutchy had a big mouth. Like he would run, I'm the best in the world, man. I'm better than Jay-Z. I'm better than these dudes. I'm better than Nas. I'm better than all these dudes, man. They just don't want to see me. And then there's rumors of all of them being wiggled out. And for people that's not from Philly, wiggled out means like PCP, weed dipped in embalming fluid and and stuff like that. In Chicago, they call that wicked sticks. I don't know what they call it anywhere else, but when you dip your blunts in embalming fluid and smoke that stuff, wicked sticks. And then you be up at 6 in the morning arguing with yourself, walking down the street. I've seen a lot of people do that. I'm like, who was he talking to? Oh man, he's fired up. And he was like, oh, don't go outside right now. He's gone off the wicked sticks. We might get hurt. I'm like, all right, I'm staying right in the crib. So anyway, it was just rumors of them just being all messed up, and Dutch to me is okay with his rhyming. He's not spectacular as he thinks he is at the time, and he just hate when somebody be like, man, dog, like we battled and I beat you. Didn't beat me. How could you beat me? He was just really over the top back then. So the best rapper they had was Bump. Bump J, but Bump to me was the best. And then like him and Gilly was the top. And Gilly just like, look, we put out an album. It didn't really move because it got basically smothered by all Jay-Z stuff and Rockefeller. So the Figgas was just sitting out there, not doing anything. Jay wasn't finna take them on, and he just left them out there. So Gilly was like, man, he went and got him a deal individually where he was signing, writing for Cash Money. So he's doing the Cash Money deal right now, working with Baby, Wayne, and all them. And then he's coming back trying to get this mixtape going in underground, and they're going to get the Figgas, keep the Figgas out there. Now, the Figgas was hustling, so they was getting some paper from somewhere. Because Gilly knew they wasn't like strapped for cash. They had on necklaces with diamonds and all that. So they was doing it. Then things started to change a little bit. Things started to get out of control. And what I mean is, things started to develop in a way that others didn't like. Who was that? Trying to think. I think it's Spado. Spado was the one that made the song Independence Day. And young Chris thought that Spado was coming at him on the track. And for some reason, Spado was like, dude, I call your mom's, she's like my mom. Me and your cousin and brother, like, we best friends. Like, what in the world? We grew up together. Why would I be dissing you? But it wasn't that. It was the ego for them seeing like, yay, man, we coming up. We getting all this money. we doing this, we doing that. Yeah, so they was feeling themselves. But they really wasn't making no money. Jay and them was making all the money and wasn't giving it to them. And they knew it. But at the same time, it wasn't fathomable for them to question the hand that's feeding them and keeping them alive. They finna be up in the movie, state property and all this. So they start spitting reckless in their bars about, major figures and talking about them, how they broke and they all on dust and they sitting up in the hood broke and angry because they own and they hating on state property and all these dudes is haters. So they start going reckless. So Spade like, whoa, hold on, man. Who you talking to like this? So they start really getting into them. And then they couldn't believe. They was like, man, I can't believe like these dudes is tripping like this, especially when PD Crack got over there. Because when PD came in, he came in late. When they got PD, they had already recorded songs. But when PD got there, he was friends like real heavy on both sides. Like these was like his guys on both sides. He mostly hung out with Gilly and them. So PD Crack was mostly with them. So to hear PD tell them like, man, I ain't got nothing to do with this. He told him like, man, told Spado, he's like, man, he called him on the phone like, Spado, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I'm staying out of it. So they was like, all right, because he was the one, I don't think Petey was on there when they went on the radio. Because they went on the radio, they went to, I think, Cosmic Kev, and they went on the radio. And they was just going in on Major Figgas. So, then, of course, Dutchy, all of them call up, yo, we coming to the radio station, the same platform you gave state property, we want it. And they was on there and they was spitting hard. And I'm quite sure you've seen it by now. It's just been rebroadcast back up to the date. And I guess that's why everybody's bringing it up, as if this is all new stuff. But yeah, they brought it all back up to where the whole radio interview is, and you hear Beans and Gilly get into it. It's famous around the world now. So the Major Figgas and Beans get into it live. And once that happens on the radio, because Beanie called up like, I know y'all ain't tripping. Because I think Beanie was punking head over something. Like he had beat head up over something. I don't know. That's some street stuff I ain't got nothing to do with there. But after this incident, there was a situation where Gilly and Beans ran into each other during like All-Star Weekend. They was over there on, I think on South Street. They had that All-Star Weekend over there, and Beans and Gilly ran into each other. And he was with all the Cash Money people, and nobody seemed to want to help Gilly. But he hit Gilly in front of all that security, and I said, he was like, man, that ain't real, because all these cops, security out there, and then you want to, go at Gilly, when all these cops are around. That ain't real. So Beans was upset because he felt y'all came at him sideways when Beans didn't diss nobody. He wasn't at the radio station dissing. He called in and co-signed it. Like, all right, there y'all go. So everybody got mad. Now, I don't ever hear the state property when they went up to the radio station on Cosmic Kev, but you always hear Major Figgas when they go at state property. So it looked like Major Figgas instigated it. Like they kicked it off because they was hating on state property. State property was doing this. So they tried to make the Figgas look like they was haters. When the biggest hater of all of them, Oskino, was over there. And sure enough, he's spitting bars and he doing the hardest. Him and Sparks and Emilio Sparks and you know, they going in the hardest, and it's like, dude, why these dudes going so hard? They really had nothing to do with it at all. But Oskino is known to being a hater. That's what he does. He's known for hating on somebody. So this went on for a little bit, and then it kind of cooled off because they were getting blackballed from Cash Money once Gilly got into it with Lil Wayne. They were trying to make a comeback, and then when that happened with Gilly and Lil Wayne, and Gilly was getting all this buzz, and they was finna put out another tape, and Gilly finna drop an album, then the Figgas is coming back. Nope. Didn't happen. They was destroyed from within because they had people with them that wasn't right. Now, Beans had gotten up with Major Figgas. They had made the song Philly and the P, the H, the I. So, you know, Philly, they better together than they are separated. Better together than they are separated. That's the part that tears. It's like they don't see it. It's like, dude, you are better together. You know, I felt they had a tight album, the Figgas for Life. I'm Carcino for Life. That's Figgas for Life, you know. So I had that album. Because I remember that album, they had, I had that album and the Murderers album, and with Ja Rule and them. And I thought of them as all together as one, like, unit. I was like, man, I had both of them albums. Murder, INC, but I had the Figgas first. I used to always have them like right by each other. The Murderers album, Major Figgas. They both was red and black. But, you know, that's when they got that release from Rough House, and they couldn't get distributed. They couldn't get shows. They was just being hated on and lied to, and it was just jerking them around with their contracts, and Gilly couldn't get them back on, so people just start going their own way, doing little shows, trying to stay afloat. And then as Rockefeller broke up, State Property broke up, just like everybody was talking about, because Petey Crack, they were like, dude, Petey, you just talking about you ain't getting involved, so they didn't even mention Petey and none of the beef. And then he comes out dissing them right after that. After he was complaining how he wasn't getting paid by Jay-Z now. Jay and Dame wasn't paying Petey them. They weren't making like no money, and Petey was the main one complaining. Then all of a sudden they start turning on each other over the money. You know, pointing fingers. Oh, I ain't get paid. This dude didn't get paid, and he get paid, and Jay. I'm like, y'all signed with Jay. That's y'all problem with Jay. Y'all got to deal with him. Beans ain't signed with y'all. He's an artist too, but they used him as the face of it to sell it. When y'all was writing for Beans, y'all basically was writing for them because y'all name couldn't hold no weight. The Chris and Neef album went somewhere because they shipped it gold. It was shipped gold. But nobody buy 500,000 copies of Chris and Neef. They had an alright album. I mean, it was straight. It was one of those albums that's a good one listen. You ain't finna go back and play it over and over and over again. It wasn't that. It was something you could listen. But it got eclipsed by Kanye album, College Dropout. And you know, it was just 50 came out, did his thing. But for them to do, they did some pretty good numbers. I mean, for now, that would be classic. They sold over 300,000 units. And that was impressive for them two little guys for nobody really knew them, Chris and Neef, to put that album out. But to have Oskino and all these guys there that they had on staff and on salary, they was paying them, and they had a roof over their head. You know, they had a place to stay while they was doing this and getting food and all this stuff. They had to do something with them. But don't blame somebody for your own failures. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you get out the car and leave your car door open, and you come back and somebody that went in your car and snatched something like your purse or your stuff out your car. What you gonna do? Be mad at the car? You left the door open and unlocked. Sure, they shouldn't have took it, but you made it easy for them to do it. You didn't do your part. So the mistake is on you. How about locking the door next time? How about looking after yourself and being a man? And people love to say, man, I was 21, 22, man. What are you, man, seeing all this? I was 21, 20. You a man. You an adult. You in a record business. This ain't no, man, just give me a little something, I'll be straight. I'm going to go to the store and cop a filthy. This is a business. You can't be too far gone to see that. This is record business. And I see these people in the comment sections, man. This is why I don't get involved in the record business no more. I don't really deal with it. The climate has changed. Everything's gone to streaming. It's not the same. When we used to ghostwrite, we used to basically, it wasn't even just ghostwriting, it's just called writing. You'll write a rhyme, give it to somebody who worked with somebody that worked with somebody. You know, they work with somebody major in the industry, and you'll get your little check. It's not going to be a lot, but if they like it, they take it. And then if they take it, you don't know who the artist is that it's going to. And it's not going to probably be the same way you wrote it. It'll be changed around to fit that artist's style, concept, or whatever it was. You're not going to get the beat 9 times out of 10. You're not going to get the beat to write to that beat. Like, okay, he needs you to write to this beat. That'll go to the main ghostwriter, the one that's right connected to the whole action, the one that's going to get all the major money off of it. So they're basically paying you for the track. But if you do good, you get good money off of it. But I've seen people get screwed. They wrote stuff for people and they just got like $300. I swear to God, $300. I've seen people get robbed like that. But they robbed themselves. Robbed themselves. $300 for a rhyme. $300. 4 tracks got bought from the dude. He gave him what, 12, I think, because he hit him off with 12. Gave him 4 tracks. And I'll never forget, homeboy came to me and said, look, you're going to have to go down on your price, man, because we can't do it. I'm like, dude, if I'm not getting, what I'm giving you is not going to be a hit, then if anybody can do it better than me, and if anybody can make it a hit more than me, then you go get them. There's a lot of dudes doing it a lot cheaper. But I know why you're here, because I can get you what you want. I can write it already the way you want. Man, let me go talk to them, man. I'll see if they get it for you this time, man. But yeah, things are changing, man. Because, you know, they ain't really blowing like that, man. Yeah, you got to work with us. I am working with you. Y'all getting the credits. Y'all getting everything. I'm just getting a flat fee. So, that's it. But anyway, you know, Philly destroyed itself as far as in the rap game. The wrong people were making the wrong decisions. Even today, Philly has got some of the most wickedest artists. They making videos through social media. They on YouTube. They trying to get out there. And the Locks, Jadakiss, and all them dudes, they finna try to put them out with some other guys that's near Yonkers. You know, they Staten Island dude and a couple other dudes. They really like hungry. I just hope the right people make it this time. like Nikki's boyfriend, you know, he made it out and he's gonna try to change the pivot, but his cornball actions have really set back the city when they really didn't have to. They really didn't have to go that route. Just think about, he was on the cusp of being something really big, and he screwed it up with his ego. Remember, all of this was over a tweet. Nobody wanted to tweet my album. Did the same thing to Wale that he did with Drake. Same thing. Yeah, and I heard you didn't write it. You know, just for no reason. None. Just unbelievable. Self-destructive. And from that point on, it has just been a downward spiral of confusion and stress. But anyway, that's how the Figgas and state property, that's how it went down. It's your boy Carcino. I'm out. You can go ahead and subscribe to the playlist, The Truth Behind Hip Hop Beats. Matter of fact, subscribe to all the playlists so therefore when something's updated, you'll already have it. Don't ask me to do a beef if it's already in the beef category. Check the playlist first. If you want to follow me, I'm at Carcino on Twitter. I'm out.